California experienced a series of micro-earthquakes along the San Andreas Fault, confirming fears that the state's tectonic system is approaching a critical phase. Recent seismic activity indicators resemble those observed prior to past devastating quakes. As energy accumulates, a major earthquake of magnitude 8 could strike, affecting over 18 million residents. But that's not the only looming threat. In June 2024, scientists uncovered a startling fact. An undersea fault nearly 1,000 kilometers long stretches along California's coast, capable of unleashing a 9-magnitude quake and generating a tsunami towering as high as a 9-story building. Experts warn that it's not a question of if, but when such a catastrophe might occur. According to the Italian National Institute of Geophysics, this quake could happen as soon as this year, raising urgent questions about current seismic risks and why California remains the epicenter of concern. This region, a global economic powerhouse, hosts Silicon Valley, Hollywood, and major aerospace industries. California's gross domestic product now exceeds $2.5 trillion, greater than many powerful nations. Yet beneath this prosperity lies a hidden threat capable of undoing centuries of progress. Seismologists call this a potential megadisaster, an earthquake so destructive it could become the region's most devastating in recorded history. What fuels this imminent danger? The answer lies beneath California's surface, where the Pacific and North American tectonic plates converge along the San Andreas Fault. Recent studies reveal alarming seismic activity, suggesting that a significant quake could strike any time this year. Particular concern centers on the Parkfield segment in central California, where quakes of magnitude 6 or higher occur roughly every 22 years. The last such event occurred in 2024, and now that segment is entering the final phase of its long, quiet period. The threat seems more imminent if one recalls the recent earthquake that rattled California and prompted warnings to over 5 million residents. Although that tremor caused no major destruction, it served as a stark reminder of the vulnerability beneath the city's gleaming skyscrapers. The San Andreas Fault's history is intertwined with California's very identity. Named after the town of San Andreas, it was discovered and mapped by geologist Andrew Lawson in '95. The fault stretches from the Mendo Coast in the north down to the Mexican border, slicing across the entire state and skirting some of its largest urban centers. With such a vast and active fracture line lurking just beneath the surface, the question remains: what measures are being taken in the face of such peril? The San Andreas Fault is steadily drifting northwestward relative to the North Mercantile region at a rate of roughly 2 to 3 centimeters annually. Although this might seem minimal, over a century, it accumulates immense stress within the Earth's crust, which is periodically released through earthquakes. The San Andreas system is not a single unbroken line but comprises multiple segments, each with its own history and character of activity. The most perilous are the southern and central segments. The central segment, including the Parkfield area, regularly experiences moderate tremors roughly every 22 years. The southern segment, crossing near the San Gabriel region, poses the greatest threat. Here, no major quakes have occurred in nearly 300 years, meaning enormous amounts of energy have accumulated, ready to be unleashed at any moment. For those interested in these topics, there's a Telegram channel where exclusive content is regularly posted. Images from space, insider analysis, strange and dangerous events, offering insights into what is truly happening on our planet. The link to join is provided in the description and pinned comment. Many believe the San Andreas Fault to be a myth or an exaggerated Hollywood creation. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. It has already stamped its mark on California's history. The most devastating earthquake caused by it occurred in Undersea in San Francisco. The quake struck at 5 in the morning on April 18th, awakening the city before a series of aftershocks turned it into ruins within just 60 seconds. Modern estimates suggest the quake had a magnitude of around 8. The destruction was staggering. 80% of the city was reduced to debris, compounded by fires ignited in its aftermath, which raged for days. The water supply system was damaged, hindering firefighting efforts, and rebuilding took years. Yet, San Francisco was reconstructed with new seismic safety measures, transforming its infrastructure to better withstand future quakes. This event marked a pivotal moment in American seismology, sparking dedicated research and improved preparedness. Another significant quake linked to the San Andreas Fault occurred on October 17, 1979, known as the Loma Prieta earthquake. Its epicenter was in the Santa Cruz Mountains, with a magnitude estimated between 6.9 and 7, and it coincided with the third game of the World Series between the San Francisco Giants and the Oakland Athletics. The quake was broadcast live, and its tremors lasted only about 15 seconds yet caused extensive damage. The 1989 earthquake further underscored the fault's danger, prompting stricter building codes and stricter regulations for construction in seismic zones of California. The San Andreas Fault isn't the only threat. A network of smaller yet connected faults amplifies the danger. One such fault, the Hayward Fault, stretches over 8 kilometers along San Francisco Bay, traversing densely populated areas including Oakland and Berkeley, posing a continuous risk to millions of residents. Scientists warn that a major earthquake along this fault could be far more devastating than the Undersea catastrophe due to the region's high population density. When seismic activity occurs, millions of tons of earth shift in a matter of seconds. Yet, the preparation for such a perilous event spans years, decades, or even centuries. Currently, seismologists are detecting numerous alarming signals suggesting that the San Andreas Fault is primed for a powerful release of accumulated energy. Recent research published in March 2025 highlights unique seismic activity near Parkfield, a segment of the fault known for regular tremors. Luca Malagnini, director of investigations at Italy's National Institute of Geophysics, identified patterns in seismic waves reminiscent of those observed before the 2004 earthquake. Experts have noticed altered behaviors in high and low-frequency seismic waves, alongside strange underground sounds emanating from the fault zone. These anomalies indicate active fracturing deep within the Earth, signaling rising strain and tension. An Italian geophysicist expressed concern, stating that while predicting the exact date of such an earthquake remains impossible, he anticipates it could occur within the next year, potentially even within months. A particularly worrying recent event was a magnitude 4.8 tremor near New York City, the strongest since the late 19th century. Though distant from San Andreas and not directly linked, this quivering underscores the growing tectonic unrest across the United States. Yet, the threat extends beyond San Andreas. Lurking beneath the surface is a colossal geological giant capable of unleashing a disaster surpassing any previous North American quake. The Cascadia subduction zone, stretching from Vancouver Island in Canada down to Northern California, is a massive underwater fault with a destructive history. New studies reveal that its structure is far more complex than once believed, increasing its potential danger. Historic records confirm its formidable power. The last major quake occurred on January 26, 1700, with a magnitude estimated around 9. Comparable to Japan's devastating Dvei-Tisuchi-Odinitsit earthquake and tsunami. Interestingly, knowledge of the Odna-Tisuchi-Semsot event comes not from American sources, but from Japanese chronicles that recorded an unusual tsunami wave without an accompanying earthquake in Japan. Modern computer models of potential Cascadia earthquakes paint a terrifying picture. If all 4 segments rupture simultaneously, the resulting quake could exceed magnitude 9. Such an event would trigger destruction along a 100-mile stretch of coastline, devastating major cities like Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver. Over the past several decades, the west coast of the United States has seen a significant increase in population along its shores, raising profound concerns. Experts estimate that over 100,000 people currently live within the zones most vulnerable to flooding, and millions more could face danger from secondary effects of a major disaster. Compounding the problem is the inadequate state of infrastructure preparedness. Studies show that about 75% of buildings in the Cascadia region are ill-equipped to withstand a 9-point earthquake. Should such a quake strike, approximately 1 million structures and 15 bridges in the Portland area could collapse. This initial destruction marks only the beginning, as the subsequent hours, days, and weeks could bring even more devastating consequences. Imagine then what the day after such an event might look like on the American West Coast. The first immediate threat residents would face is a tsunami. Between the tremors and the arrival of the wave, survivors might have just 10 to 30 minutes to evacuate depending on their location. A perilously short window for a full-scale evacuation of coastal communities. These waves could reach heights from 6 to 30 meters, heavily influenced by the shoreline's terrain, and travel at speeds up to 800 kilometers per hour, making it impossible to outrun the oncoming water. When the tide recedes, coastal areas would remain submerged for hours or even days. The rushing seawater would devastate communication lines, electrical systems, and roads, carrying thousands of tons of debris and hazardous materials with it. This would trigger an environmental catastrophe along the shoreline. Even regions farther inland would not be spared from destruction. For earthquakes of magnitude 7 or higher, high-rise buildings, bridges, dams, roads, and airports would be among the first to suffer. Emergency services would be overwhelmed, and many victims could find themselves waiting days for assistance. A significant threat comes from ruptured gas pipelines, which could ignite fires and explosions. During the San Francisco earthquake of 1946, fires caused by gas line damages led to most of the destruction, a pattern likely to repeat today in densely built cities filled with flammable materials. Ports such as Los Angeles and Long Beach, through which around 4/5 of the United States maritime cargo is transported, are particularly vulnerable. If these ports were incapacitated for weeks or months, nationwide supply chains would face severe disruptions. The economic repercussions of such a catastrophe would be profound and far-reaching. The long-term effects might include a recession that impacts the entire country. Insurance companies would suffer enormous losses, affecting overall financial stability. Restoring damaged infrastructure would require vast government investment, which could strain resources and exacerbate shortages of essential goods. Socially, the crisis would be grave. Thousands of individuals would lose their homes, fueling a humanitarian emergency that would demand urgent national attention. The healthcare system is already overwhelmed by the increasing number of earthquake victims, struggling with shortages of medical supplies, equipment, and personnel. The psychological scars inflicted by such disasters tend to persist for years, as fears of another quake, the grief over lost loved ones, and financial hardships compound mental health struggles. Despite these ongoing threats, millions continue to live in regions prone to seismic activity across the United States. The first line of defense against earthquakes is strict construction standards. California boasts some of the world's most rigorous building codes, with modern structures engineered to withstand significant seismic forces without collapsing. These buildings incorporate flexible joints, shock-absorbing foundations, and other innovations designed to dissipate earthquake energy, thus enhancing safety. Nonetheless, many older constructions, especially in Los Angeles, built before comprehensive standards came into effect, remain particularly vulnerable. Approximately 13,500 such buildings from the mid-70s or earlier are considered high risk. A crucial component of earthquake preparedness is early warning systems. California's Shake Alert network uses a vast array of seismographs to identify initial, less destructive seismic waves, issuing alerts seconds or even minutes before the arrival of stronger shocks. These warnings provide crucial time for individuals and organizations to seek safety or take protective measures. However, these systems cannot predict earthquakes in advance. They only respond as events unfold. Coastal regions place particular emphasis on tsunami readiness, with California's geological agencies creating hazard maps to inform residents about areas at risk, helping improve community awareness, even if not universally recognized. In contrast, some northern regions like Cascadia show a concerning lack of proactive measures. There are few initiatives to educate or prepare local populations for potential disasters, and authorities often permit the construction of energy facilities, hospitals, and homes within flood-prone zones, despite the known risks. Meanwhile, economic and climatic attractions continue to draw people into seismic zones. Many residents remain largely indifferent to the danger, hoping that a catastrophe won't occur during their lifetime. The western coast of the United States remains in a state of constant tension. Scientists no longer question if a major earthquake will strike. Instead, they debate exactly when it will happen. Geological faults have accumulated immense energy over centuries, like tightly wound springs, ready to unleash forces capable of reshaping North America's landscape permanently.